Hello there, and welcome to the Journey to Legacy show. I'm your host, Joanna Klein. I am the creator and facilitator of Journey to Legacy, an online life story writing course for people who want to write their life stories for themselves and their loved ones. Journey to Legacy uses life story writing as a way to help you feel good about the life you've lived, the years ahead, and the legacy you have to leave behind. Now, I often talk about the benefits of life story writing. It helps us make peace with our past. It helps us uncover these tender moments and have greater appreciation for what we've lived through. It's so fun to go back and just relive some tender moments, some fun moments, some joyful moments. It's an opportunity to feel proud about our successes and to get these stories that we often carry in our heads out of our heads and onto the page. So there's so many benefits in addition to once you get those stories out there and you're feeling good, it's like, whoa, I did that, I lived through that, then you feel more inclined to want to share that and leave something meaningful through your personal history, your personal history with those who follow you. So today I'm going to share a personal story and share it with you both from the perspective it's the holidays, it's a holiday story for me about my childhood, and share it from a perspective of taking actually after sharing it, taking a deeper dive into why it's meaningful, what it is that shows up in this story, and hoping that this could be helpful for you as you explore life story writing for yourself. And so often the question comes up is, well, what do I write about, or how do I write? And I'm hoping that maybe this might give you some insight. And if you're new to me, I always like to clarify exactly what life story writing is. Life story writing is writing a collection of stories. They don't have to be in chronological order. They don't have to follow a certain theme. You don't have to be a writer to do life story writing. It's simply something that you do so that you can take a look and see what has been meaningful in your life. You can connect the dots. It's so helpful, particularly if you are thinking about, okay, what's ahead? And wanting to understand where you've been through before you start making decisions about what your next chapter is. And then also for those who want to share their personal history with their loved ones. So many of us wish we'd had this from our parents or grandparents or great grandparents. Really, studies show that children who know their family story do better academically, socially. They're more resilient. They feel like they have more control over their lives. So there's so many benefits to do it, but it's a hard thing to do. So for many people think that it's a hard thing to do, but it's not necessarily so hard. So I'm going to share this story with you today, and then talk a little bit about it, and hopefully it'll be helpful to you. So I'm going to read it. It's something that I wrote. So it's called A Jewish Girl's First Christmas Tree. As a young girl, one of my favorite holiday memories was going downtown to shop for gifts. Each year, my mom, older sister, and I would get dressed up and take the 20-minute drive to downtown, park in a parking garage, and head straight to Tallheimer's, the 6-story department store that was an icon in my hometown of Richmond, Virginia. In December, the store always featured beautiful window displays with animated scenes that gave a glimpse into yesteryear. Inside, it sparkled with festivity and magic. My mom would lead us around the store to pick out presents for our relatives, and as part of the annual ritual, she would treat us to lunch at the Richmond Room, the popular and luxurious restaurant located within Tallheimer's. When I was 11 years old, my girlfriend Marsha invited me to go holiday shopping downtown with her to buy gifts for our friends at school. The thought of doing this without my mother and sister and the feeling of freedom and independence this evoked was enough to make me rush to my mom, begging her to say yes. It was a time when children were not heavily supervised and the world felt more safe. My mom acquiesced. although I imagine she was a little sad to have the mother-daughter ritual brought to an end sooner than she expected. On that highly anticipated day, Marsha and I took the bus downtown. I held tightly to my little pocketbook, feeling rich and self-satisfied with the $15 of saved allowance it held. Instead of a 20-minute car ride, we had a full hour of stops and starts during which our impatience and excitement built. We were bundled up in our wool dress coats, patent leather shoes, hats and gloves as we descended the bus and crossed Broad Street toward Tallheimer's. We stood mesmerized in front of the beautiful windows display until we were so chilled we needed to start shopping to get warmed up. As usual, Tallheimer's was elegant and festive inside, and at the same time, it was confusing without my mom's leadership. I looked at table after table of exquisite merchandise, noticed the price tags, and quickly realized my budget wasn't a match for my taste. Marsha and I took the escalator up to the second floor, and I could feel the overwhelm building as we ascended. We wandered around this upper level in a trance-like state, and it was obvious that Marsha didn't know how to navigate this situation any better than I did. I leaned over and whispered, "Do you want to go to Woolworths?" "Yes," my friend said without hesitation. I heard Christmas music playing as we entered the hallowed halls of Woolworths, the five and dime store that was more in my league. There were a few big wreaths hanging from the ceiling, but it was clear we weren't in Tallheimer's anymore. Yet it was familiar and comfortable in a way that an 11-year-old with a limited budget could appreciate. It didn't take me long to find what I considered to be the perfect gift. The Lifesaver candy gift box, the one that had 6 different flavors on each side when you opened it up, and a decorative cover that made it look like a present. I counted and recounted the number of friends I wanted to give it to. I didn't want to forget anyone. 8 gift boxes altogether. I put them in my basket. Then I found talcum powder for my mom, a paperweight for my dad, a 45 vinyl record for my sister, I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles, and I was ready to call it a day. Marsha wasn't as decisive. So while she continued to shop, I moseyed around the store. I still had a small amount of cash left, but it wasn't burning a hole in my pocketbook. I could use it for something else at another time. Until something caught my eye. A display of artificial Christmas trees, 3 feet tall, stand included. Now, for most people who are used to celebrating Christmas, this wouldn't have been a big deal. But for me, who grew up in a Jewish home, who each year drooled longingly over the glorious trees and decorations in my friends' homes, and who never even thought it was an option to have one of my own, this discovery felt revolutionary. This little Christmas tree held the key to bringing joy and magic to the holidays and turning my family into a happy one. I honestly don't remember what was going on in my head when I purchased that tree. Did I think I could convince my parents that having a tree didn't mean we were forsaking our Jewish heritage? Did I even question whether they would allow me to set this up on our fireplace hearth? Did I think that the presence of this tree would mean that Christmas presents would now appear under it on Christmas Day? All I remember is that I wanted that tree. I obviously didn't think through or even worry how I was going to get it home. As it turned out, getting on the bus, weighted down with about 8 pounds of Lifesaver candies and a bulky 3-foot plastic Christmas tree was a little tricky. I remember hearing my mom tell the story of seeing me walking home from the bus stop, not recognizing me at first as I tried to peek around this tree that was not that much smaller than me. And on Christmas Eve, my parents let me set it up. Somehow, strands of tinsel and a string of colored lights also made their way to that tree. And I'm guessing it was my dad who snuck them on. And on Christmas Day, a few presents showed up under that little tree. I know it wasn't easy for my parents to go along with this. I remember my mom jokingly saying she felt embarrassed when her older brother dropped by on Christmas Day and worried that he judged her for allowing me to do that. But I don't ever recall sensing that she wanted me to feel ashamed or guilty for what I had done. I don't recall her trying to talk me out of it. I was a strong-willed child, and perhaps it was easier to just give in. I'd like to think that she admired my initiative and determination about it all. In reflection, I feel appreciation for both of my parents who supported this when they could have said no. Most of my memories of my parents, particularly my dad, are tainted with an underlying belief that they never really saw me. And this memory is healing as it reminds me that while they may not have understood me, they did their best to let me be me. And as I look back now, I feel a great deal of compassion for myself as an innocent little girl who believed she was missing out on something that could fill the gap with that was something that could be filled with a small plastic Christmas tree. Of course, that little Christmas tree never brought the level of magic into my home that I had sought. The rest of my family didn't all of a sudden start doing what I imagined families with Christmas trees did, joyfully sit around the fire and sing Christmas carols in a house that they had decorated together. It didn't pull my dad away from his desk in the bedroom, my mother from her phone calls with her friends, or my sister from her books, so that we could all play games together and laugh. It didn't make me feel any less of an outsider in my own home. But it does serve as a reminder of what I can appreciate, both about myself and my parents, that I have, since a young age, gone after what I wanted. And while most of the time my parents didn't have a clue how to deal with me, they did their best to support my hopes and dreams. So this story has a number of different elements to it. One of the ones is a historical element. And I actually had to do a little research on Tallheimers to remember how many buildings it was, and I couldn't remember the name of the restaurant, the Richmond Room. But also then the clothing that I wore, the wool coat, the black patent leather shoes, the fact that at that age, it was okay for us to take a bus to go downtown. That would never happen these days. At least most of the people that I know, it wouldn't happen. So it sets a little bit of a historical perspective. And then it dives in deeper with my family and what I was longing for. It definitely brings up for me that sense of being an outsider, both within my family and in the community, having grown up in a Jewish home, and I've written about this and talked about this in the past. I had some shame around being Jewish because I wanted to fit into the mainstream, and Christmas time and the Christmas trees was such a way of showing me that I was different and not that I didn't have what others had. And so this was my way of trying to fit in, and it gives me insight into myself that I describe in this story. And coming up, realizing, and I want to say that I didn't start the story knowing that was going to come out. I often say that with life story writing, your writing leads the way. So I had this notion to write about that incident. It's one that my mom used to laugh about, and me coming home from the bus stop with that Christmas tree and how she was she was surprised by it, and what was she going to do about it. But I hadn't written it from that deeper perspective of what was going on for me. And that brought up a lot. It brought up, like I said in the story, compassion for myself, admiration for myself and going after what I wanted, and appreciation, as you can see, from my parents, because they allowed it. They went ahead and participated with it, with tinsels and colored lights, and just the allowing that what they allowed when they could have said, no, absolutely not, you can't have it. And then every year at Christmas time, I was able to put up that little tree. And so while it didn't look as beautiful as my friends' gorgeous trees, it was my little tree that I had in order to bring what I wanted, what was important to me to bring, in this sense of like This is what I was needing in order to fit in. I hope that was entertaining for you, and want to invite you, if you want to dabble in life story writing, to take a look at my website. I offer a free guide to starting life story writing. It is a transformative experience. It certainly has been for me, in that I've been able to see myself in a whole new way. I've been able to understand myself. I've been able to appreciate my life. I've been able to appreciate my parents, my sister, the other people in my life. I've been able to see them from a new perspective. The things that I had in the past, people that I had seen as thorns in my side, I was able to see how my interaction with them, in fact, helped me grow, helped me become stronger. So the experience is something that is incredibly fulfilling, and you get to choose what you do with those stories. But I can promise you that if you choose to dive in and treat this as an experience of self-care, to allow yourself to have that, then you're going to find some beautiful stories that come out of you, some beautiful memories, and beautiful connection with both yourself and those who have been in your life. Thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.